infinite, etc. These, as well as the 62 speculative views mentioned in the Brahma Jala Sutta. When there is identity view, these views come to be. When there is no identity view, these views do not come to be. And Citta asked, "But Venerable Sir, how does identity view come to be?" And the Venerable Isiddhata replied, "Hear, householder, the unlearned ordinary worldling, who does not see the noble ones, and is unskilled and undisciplined in their Dhamma, who does not see superior men, and is unskilled and undisciplined in their Dhamma, regard form as self, or self as possessing form, or form as in the self, or self as in the form. Similarly, for feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness, he regards the aggregates as the self, or the aggregates as belonging to self, or the aggregates as in the self, or the self as in the aggregates. It is in such a way that identity view comes to be." And Venerable Sir, how does identity view not come to be? And he answered, "Hear, householder, the learned noble disciple who sees noble ones and is skilled and disciplined in the Dhamma, who sees superior persons and is skilled and disciplined in their Dhamma, does not regard form or body as self, or self as possessing form, or form as in the self, or self as in the form. Similarly, he does not regard feeling, perception, volition, or consciousness as the self, or as belonging to self, or in the self, or the self as in these aggregates. It is in such a way that identity view does not come to be." Then Citta asked, "Venerable Sir, where does Master Isiddhata come from?" And he said, "I come from Avanti, householder." And Citta said, "There is, Venerable Sir, a clansman from Avanti named Isiddhata, an unseen friend of ours who has gone forth. Has the Venerable One ever met him?" And he said, "Yes, householder." "Where is that Venerable One now dwelling, Venerable Sir?" When this was said, the Venerable Isiddhata was silent. And then Citta asked, "Is the Master Isiddhata?" "Yes, householder." And then Citta said, "Then let Master Isiddhata delight in the delightful wild mango grove at Machikasanda. I will be zealous in providing Master Isiddhata with robes, alms, food, lodgings, and medicinal requisites." "That is kindly said, householder." Stop here for a moment. So this Venerable Isiddhata answered this Citta's questions very well. So after that, Citta asked him, "Where do you come from, Reverend?" And he says, "From Avanti." And he says, "We also have a relative from Avanti, also called Isiddhata, who has renounced, although we have never met him." Because in India in those days, traveling was not easy. You have to walk from place to place. So because Avanti was very far from where this Citta stays at Machikasanda, so he has never been to see this relative, but he heard as this relative of his had renounced. So he asked him, "Where is that Venerable staying now?" So that Venerable Isiddhata was quiet, kept quiet, so he guessed must be him. So when he learned that it was him, his relative, then he asked this Venerable Isiddhata to stay long in his mango grove, and he said he will provide all the necessary requisites. Then Citta, the householder, having delighted and rejoiced in the Venerable Isiddhata's words, with his own hand served and satisfied the elder monks with the various kinds of delicious food. When the elder monks had finished eating and had put away their bowls, they rose from their seats and departed. Then the Venerable Chief Elder said to the Venerable Isiddhata, "It is good, friend Isiddhata, that the answer to this question occurred to you. The answer did not occur to me. Therefore, friend Isiddhartha, whenever a similar question comes up at some other time, you should clear it up." Then the Venerable Isiddhartha set his lodging in order, and taking bowl and robe, he left Machikasanda. When he left Machikasanda, he left for good, and he never returned. That's the end of the sutta. So here, you see, people, some people will be surprised. How come he stays here and his relative wants to provide him with everything, and yet he left? Because he's a real cultivator. Because he's a real cultivator, he doesn't want people to attach to him. He doesn't want to form ties. If he stay long, especially his own relative, feels maybe indebted to him. And also other relatives, when they hear, they will come. So he wants to be alone, so he went off. See, those monks who understand the Dhamma and then they renounce to practice, then they don't want to attach to anything. 41.4. On one occasion, a number of elder monks were dwelling at Machikasanda in the wild mango grove. Then Citta, the householder, approached those elder monks, paid homage to them, sat down to one side, and said, "Venerable sirs, let the elders consent to accept tomorrow's meal from me in my cowshed." The elder monks consented by silence. Then Citta, the householder, having understood that the elders had consented, rose from his seat, paid homage to them, and departed, keeping them on his right. When the night had passed, in the morning the elder monks dressed, took their bowls and outer robes, and went to the cowshed of Citta, the householder. There they sat down on the appointed seats. Then Citta, the householder, with his own hand, served and satisfied the elder monks with delicious milk rice made with ghee. Then when the elder monks had finished eating and had put away their bowls, they rose from their seats and departed. Then Citta, the householder, having said, "Give away the remainder," that means to his workers, followed close behind the elder monks. Now on that occasion, the heat was sweltering, very hot, and the elders went along as if their bodies were melting because of the food they had eaten. They were sweating a lot. Now on that occasion, the Venerable Mahaka was the most junior monk in that Sangha. Then the Venerable Mahaka said to the Venerable Chief Elder, "It would be good, Venerable Elder, if a cool wind would blow, and a canopy of clouds would form, and the sky would drizzle." And the chief monk said, "That would be good, friend." Then the Venerable Mahaka performed such a feat of psychic power that a cool wind blew, and a canopy of clouds formed, and the sky drizzled. Then it occurred to Citta, the householder, such is the psychic power and might possessed by the most junior monk in this Sangha. Then when the Venerable Mahaka arrived at the monastery, he said to the Venerable Chief Elder, "Is this much enough, Venerable Elder?" "That's enough, friend Mahaka. What's been done is sufficient, friend Mahaka. What's been offered is sufficient." Then the elder monks went to their dwellings, and the Venerable Mahaka went to his own dwelling. Then Citta, the householder, approached the Venerable Mahaka, paid homage to him, sat down to one side, and said to him, "It would be good, Venerable Sir, if Master Mahaka would show me a superhuman miracle of psychic power." Then, householder, spread your cloak upon the veranda and scatter a bundle of grass upon it. "Yes, Venerable Sir," said Citta, the householder, replied, and he spread his cloak upon the veranda and scattered a bundle of grass upon it. Then when he had entered his dwelling and shut the bolt, the Venerable Mahaka performed a feat of psychic power such that a flame shot through the keyhole and the chink of the door and burned the grass but not the cloak. Citta, the householder, shook out his cloak and stood to one side, shocked and terrified. Then the Venerable Mahaka came out of his dwelling and said to Citta, the householder, "Is this much enough, householder?" "That's enough, Venerable Mahaka. What's been done is sufficient, Venerable Mahaka. What's been offered is sufficient. Let Master Mahaka delight in the delightful wild mango grove at Machikasanda. I will be zealous in providing Master Mahaka with robes, alms, food, lodgings, and medicinal requisites. That is kindly said, householder. Then the Venerable Mahaka set his lodging in order, and taking bowl and robe, he left Machikasanda. When he left Machikasanda, he left for good, and he never returned. So this is another great monk with psychic power, and he doesn't like to also attach to anyone. And these good monks, they don't like people to know they have psychic power. If the news goes around, everybody will come on to see his psychic power. So he'll be very busy, got no time to meditate. So he prefer to go off. 41.5. On one occasion, the Venerable Kamabu was dwelling at Machikasanda in the wild mango grove. Then Citta, the householder, approached the Venerable Kamabu, paid homage to him, and sat down to one side. The Venerable Kamabu then said to him, "This has been said, householder. With faultless wheel and a white awning, the one-spoked chariot rolls. See it coming, trouble-free, the stream cut without bondage." How, householder, should the meaning of this brief statement be understood in detail? And Citta asked, "Was this stated by the Blessed One, Venerable Sir?" "Yes, householder." "Then wait a moment, Venerable Sir, while I consider its meaning." Then after a moment's silence, Citta, the householder, said to the Venerable Kamabu, "Faultless, this, Venerable Sir, is a designation for the virtues, Sila. White awning, this is a designation for liberation. One spoke, this is a designation for sati, I think should be sati, recollection. Rolls, this is a designation for going forward and returning. Chariot, this is a designation for this body consisting of the four great elements originating from mother and father, built up out of rice and gruel, subject to impermanence, to being worn and rubbed away, to breaking apart and dispersal. Lust, Venerable Sir, is trouble. Hatred is trouble. Delusion is trouble. For a monk whose asavas are destroyed, these have been abandoned, cut off at the root, made like palm stumps, obliterated so that they are no more subject to future arising. Therefore, the monk whose asavas are destroyed is called trouble-free. The one who is coming, this is a designation for the Arahant. The stream, this, Venerable Sir, is a designation for craving. For a monk whose asavas are destroyed, this has been abandoned, cut off at the root, made like a palm stump, obliterated so that it is no more subject to future arising. Therefore, the monk whose asavas are destroyed is called one with the stream cut. Lust, Venerable Sir, is bondage. Hatred is bondage. Delusion is bondage. For a monk whose asavas are destroyed, these have been abandoned, cut off at the root, made like palm stumps, obliterated, so that they are no more subject to future arising. Therefore, the monk whose asavas are destroyed is called one no more in bondage. Thus, Venerable Sir, when it was said by the Blessed One, with faultless wheel and a white awning, the one-spoked chariot rolls. See it coming, trouble-free, the stream cut without bondage. It is in such a way that I understand in detail the meaning of what was stated by the Blessed One in brief. It is a gain for you, householder. It is well gained by you, householder, in that you have the eye of wisdom that ranges over the deep word of the Buddha. It's the end of the sutta. So here, the Venerable Kamabu quoted saying of the Buddha to this Citta and asked him to explain. And after thinking a while about it, he could explain so well. So it shows also that his knowledge of the Dhamma is very deep. That's why compared to nowadays, people ask, why nowadays so hard to attain Sotapanna? It's not hard. Only thing, you don't make the effort. I think the Buddha's time, they memorize those suttas every day. They memorize every day, and it's in their local language. So when they memorize the suttas in their local language, then it sticks in their mind. If we were to study the Nikayas,